We've got so many professional athletes and now orthopedic surgeons that won't send their player, even if after they operate, into a clinic or a PT or a chiro that does not have our technology, because they look like heroes because the recovery is so much quicker.
Yeah.
So,
And that's actually what my experience is with it. So when I started powerlifting, roughly, like I said, about 3 years ago. So I mean, I'd stayed active and stayed in shape basically, since obviously my teens when I was playing football. Um, but I didn't really have like a purpose with working out. It was just more to get in there, do it because I love doing it. And I never really had a plan. It wasn't until I met a bunch of guys that actually were doing competitive powerlifting that kind of pointed me in that direction, which, if you guys know, when you're aimlessly doing something, yeah, you might do it, but when you have a purpose behind it, it obviously makes it that much more meaningful.
Yeah.
So I had actually torn my pec working out in my 30s, so it's been like 12 years or so. And basically, with the recovery from that, because it wasn't a normal tear where the tendon pulls away from the bone or even pulls part of the bone, it was actually a straight tear down the muscle fiber, so the tendon was still attached to the bone with muscle fiber. So when the surgeon stitched it together, he said it was like stitching back together two hamburger patties. So there's actually still, I think it's like 380 stitches in my pec holding it together. But because of that, I had lost some mobility, external rotation in my left shoulder, and then I was kind of weak. So that's actually what I originally started doing the therapy for, was to try to help with that range of motion and then to get some of that strength back, because obviously competitive powerlifting, bench is one of the main things. And it was a noticeable difference how much farther behind my left arm was than my right arm. So in competition, that can actually cost you the lift. Even if you successfully get it, if your left arm or one of the arms locks out significantly behind the other one, they can red light you and you don't get credit for the lift.
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
So
Who and how did you get introduced to the ARPneuro technology? Was it the RX100, the bigger device, the Class 2 medical device, or was it the over-the-counter PRS? Do you know?
well, right away it would have been the medical device.
Okay.
Now I had some background again just from being an athlete with like the old e-stim stuff.
Okay.
So I kind of knew what the sensation was, but this is that on steroids.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really I was expecting the other one when they were talking about it, because that's all I was familiar with.
Okay.
And then when I started doing it, I was like, oh wow, this is actually like getting a workout. Like I would look in the mirror after a session and be like, damn, did I just do like 20 sets of bench? What's going on?
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool with that. But then so that was what I originally had started it for, was to get that strength back. And then as I was saying, 5 weeks out from my last meet, I pulled my hamstring. I instantly just called the chiropractor at A to Z Chiropractic in Crystal Lake there. Got in the next day, which was a Monday, and they switched the ARP to that.
Okay.
And then they had a portable ARP machine that I was taking to work and putting that on.
Going back to when you were lifting, right?
Yeah.
And that first time and that sensation
Yeah.
where you go, wow, I'm getting that same sensation as if I just had a great, session lifting. How did you know after that you could see that it was treating just like as if you had a serious workout?
So in our world, we would call it the pump. So after you get done with a workout, typically whatever muscle group you're working out, and whether it's chest, shoulders, back, most would probably equate it with their biceps for like the casual lifter or the bodybuilder, because that's usually where they see it. That's where they want to see it. In our world, it's usually more quad focused and stuff like that because we're trying to get stronger. But typically after you see that, because of the amount of blood flow that goes into those muscles and the lactic acid that builds up after a lift, you are, I guess, lack of a better words, bloated in those muscle groups. Um, so after doing this therapy, and it's like 10 minutes that I was doing it for, with different ranges of motions, doing like a bench press with it, with like just a PVC pipe. So it's not like there was any weight. And it would literally be like going from having no weight to feeling like I was pushing at least an 80-pound dumbbell in one hand. And then afterwards, it was the same type of pump that I would have had after doing like a normal chest workout. So
Okay,
like I could
good.
see this, I could see that blood flow, I could see the swelling in that area. Yeah, so I was seeing a ton of improvement in my shoulder and chest from that therapy. So like every day that I would go in, we would kind of recap because I was going in weekly at this point.
Hmm.
We would kind of recap, and because I have a lifting coach, I take video of like my main lifts, so I would even share that with my therapist, and we were going through that stuff, and you could see that bench going even, and then all of a sudden, then I hit my hamstring. I'm deadlifting, and the worst part about it for me, it was on a deload week, so I wasn't even lifting heavy.
Okay.
And I just was doing a second rep and literally just felt the pop, heard the pop, and just instantly dropped the weight. And I was like, in my head, I'm just like, oh no. I'm like, what did I do? And then, as I said, the next day, the bruising took place. The day after that, I made an appointment, and then I started coming in 2 days a week. And then they gave me that portable thing to take to work and all that kind of stuff. And then doing the therapy, I don't want to say it was after a week, but definitely after 2 weeks, I couldn't tell that there was an issue. So I would start doing some squats. And it was actually, so it would have been based on my training rotation, probably about 7 to 8 days. It might have been day 8 after feeling that pop. I was doing squats.
Mm.
So now we go into the meet. I PR'd in every single lift there. So yeah, I was super, super happy. And I really don't think I would have ever been able to get there without your guys' therapy.